Hi, just a quick word to say that my books, including my latest for children, are available in-store and online. You can find a full list of my books at tipene.com. If you're enjoying my content, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thank you for your support. Now back to the video. In my last video I was talking about the importance of children having alone time. I spoke about how I did that with my kids. This is not about abandoning them or neglecting them or deserting them in any way or putting them outside and shutting the door and leaving them out there for the whole day, as was done to many of us when we were kids. This is about setting up an actual structured time, so it's for their benefit. It's not about getting them out of my hair, it's about for their benefit. So I had two kids. They would play a lot together. As you know, when kids play together, disagreements, arguments happen. It's great, isn't it? It's lovely. So there are opportunities where it's time to separate. And naturally they would sometimes do that anyway. I'd have one in the lounge or they'd be in their rooms. At one point though, they were, in this position that we were in. They were in just sharing one bedroom. So we had to utilise other spaces, which is great. So in the house that we are now, my son, maybe he would be in the hallway playing, he'd take over the hallway, my daughter would take over part of the lounge. I'd be working away in the kitchen or doing something else. And they would have some time to themselves and they would play. So important. Play is so important. Nothing to do with electronics, nothing to do with devices. I also talked about in the last video about how I structured device time with my kids. So up until the age of 10, I was pretty strict with it. So they got 1 hour a week of device. That included TV, so that's just 1 hour. Typically it was on a Saturday. The rest of the time, I expected them to play with toys, to find things to do. And when they're on their own turn, it's brilliant. It builds self-reliance. They're not needing anything external to entertain them. They're not needing an external distraction. It's making them go internal. So if they've got toys in front of them, they have to create a scenario. They have to create a game. My daughter, she would play with dolls, figures, ponies, blocks. There was a dragon stage for her. These figures and that. She'd play with them. Or she'd do drawing, or she'd do art, write stories. Same with my son, he'd do that. He would play with figures, he'd play with blocks, wooden blocks, toys, whatever. They didn't need a lot, just a few toys. And they were happy. And they would play for hours like that. It allowed them to process what was going on in their lives, things that were happening at school, things that were happening in the home, happening with me, just with their lives. They were able to process that through play. Play is so important. Our kids need it. And of course they would go outside at times and they'd play on the lawn or climb a tree. That is so important for their development. Every now and then, of course, you'd hear, I'm bored. I don't know what to do. So my response was, well, go and find something to do. Sometimes I may have added to that, or I can give you something to do. It's amazing how the threat of a chore helps them to come up with an activity very fast. We don't always have to entertain our kids. We don't always have to have them entertained. Devices take them out of themselves. When they play with something physical with their hands, there's so much going on, isn't there? There's just the motor skills of playing with something. There's the whole creativity aspect of it. There's that self-reliance, the processing of their week. There's just so much involved. Now the home needs to be settled, of course. It can't be a turbulent house. When things are stressful, kids will need more time to play. But if they have a settled environment, they're going to be able to do that a lot better. So it's not about pounding the house with music while they're doing that. For a big part of my children's life, it was just me as a single parent. There was an auntie that helped out, and of course they got to see their mum. But the majority of the time it was just me. So regardless of whether we're a single parent or in a situation with both parents, we can give our children this structured self-time. Don't use devices as babysitters, right? The TV or the game consoles or the computers or the phones. Don't use them as babysitters. It's doing damage for the kids. And if you're having behavioural issues, physical play, allowing your child to physically play with toys will help to settle those behavioural issues. Because of all those things I talked about before, the downtime, the learning of self-reliance, processing, creativity. If your child's not used to it, it may take some time. Persist though, persist. Turn the power off if you need to. If you've got a child that's hungry for a device, it's addicted to it, well, that's going to take some work. I refused to get to that position with my kids right from the start. That was not going to happen. I was not going to have these devices dictate to my kids. If you've always grown up too with lots of television, that may prove to be a struggle even for you. You know, it's good if we can model it. I mean, my kids had me. Here I am, I'm a writer. I would be writing. There were times I would write on a device, and there were times that I would write with good old-fashioned pen and paper. I can do that. I'm happy to do that. It's where I've started, writing with pen and paper. There's nothing like it. It's magic that happens when you write with pen and paper. I love it. But I also enjoyed building with blocks, building with Lego. And I would do it sometimes together with my kids. So there are periods in the home where the three of us were off doing our own thing. Of course we would do things together, but other times we would be off doing our own things that had nothing to do with devices. We were all being creative, doing our own thing. So my kids got to see me doing it. And a lot of us do have hobbies that we like to do. Now again, this is not about ignoring our kids, not paying attention to them. No, no, no. I have a lot of time with my kids all throughout that, but I'm just aware that individual time to play was so valuable. Some kids, that's all they have. They have no other choice. They don't have the access to devices, and their parents are too busy to even notice them. So some kids, that play is all they have. Now that's just straight out neglect, and that's abuse, and that's going to lead to problems. See, so if it's excessive, if it's too much, that can lead to problems, right? Okay. But if it's a little bit every day, no. Or it can be a big part of every day. But if it's within an environment where they're not being ignored, where it's not intentionally to ignore them, and they're not being told to go away, then it's really healthy. And I would go and check with them. I'd say, oh, how's it going? What are you doing? What's happening in your little world there? I'd talk to them, with my daughter, with my son, he'd explain it to me. He'd go into great details. Oh, this is what's going on. And, this is the villain, this is the bad guy, or this is the good guy, this is the hero, or this is what these figures are doing, and this is the spaceship, and look at this, look at what I made. Great detail. My daughter was like that sometimes. Other times, though, I'd go in to see how my daughter was going. It was, get out, go away. Why are you here? I don't want you here. I don't want you watching me. Go away. She wanted the space. Fine. The space and the privacy. Fine. Fair enough. I accept that. Allowing our kids to have that self-time, to play like that. Self-time, isn't it? Self-time. That's what I always called it. I used to talk about in Māori kids. And I named it as self-time. There was always this push around for time out. I didn't like it. Time out. I understand its purpose and why people came up with it. Give kids time out. Kid misbehaves, give them time out. Māori kids, I called it self-time. To have some time to yourself. Worked really well for behaviours that weren't appropriate. If a child did something that wasn't okay, have some self-time. Go over there and do this activity or do something else by yourself. Have some time to yourself. Think about what you did. Think about what happened. Usually I would, in terms of correcting a behaviour, I would say to them, now later on you and I are going to sit down, we're going to have a talk about it, so I want you to think about what sort of things you might want to say to me. I'd prep them, prep their mind. Sometimes when we ask kids why they did what they did, their mind just goes to jello, gets all mumbled, they can't get their thoughts straight. So by giving them some time to themselves, they can get their thoughts together, get prepared. It's not about being nervous either, it's making it really clear, like the tone of voice that I'm using is the tone of voice that I would use. It's not about being angry and stuff. So I don't want them being in a state of trepidation where they're in fear of getting some sort of punishment. No, that defeats the purpose of it, doesn't it? So by giving our kids this time to play by themselves, they're going to build their independence, become self-reliant. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing. And you can see how much it matters as they get older and go out into the world. Especially because, as I said too, they're not reliant on devices. And they're not reliant on constant attention. They don't need it. They don't require it. That's what happens when you allow your kids to have that space, to be alone, and to play with their toys. Physical toys. Such an important part of childhood, something all our children need. And if it's just you and your child, and you're alone, and it's a single child, then it's even more important to give them that time. You don't always need their attention either, eh? Even if it's just the two of you, you don't need that. So it's more important for them to learn to be independent and self-reliant, to have that time alone where they can play. In situations where it is single parents with children, there can be a lot of interdependence. You become reliant on each other. Unhealthily, sometimes the parent needs the attention of the child more than the child actually needs the attention of the parent. So you can see how it can become unhealthy. As a single parent, it's very important for the child to have that self-time, time to play alone with their toys. Believe me, you'll see changes in behaviour and in attitude and just in their demeanour, in their way of being, and it will help them in the future. If you're enjoying my videos, please like, share and subscribe. Talk soon.